What's up guys? Today we're going to be talking about losing fitness. Now I'm not talking about the usual ebb and flows of our fitness as we train for a race and then we recover after that race. I'm talking about those times when, we just can't be bothered. Maybe we kind of drift away from running or going to the gym or doing whatever it is we do. Because let's be honest, running, working out takes a lot of work, right? Work is in the name. So if you do find yourself kind of drifting away from the run or the gym, how long is it going to take you to get back in shape? That's what we're talking about today. Let's get into it. So I thought I'd talk to you guys about this after I saw an article in the New York Times, and it's fairly recent. I think it came out in March. And the article is titled, "How long does it take to get fit again?" Which, if it didn't actually tell us how long it would take to get fit again, would be very clickbaity, because I think that's something that we all want to know. Not that any of you watching actually ditch your workouts for a prolonged amount of time. I know that you are all committed and dedicated, but you may know someone that isn't. So in that case, you'll be able to tell them what you learned here today and kind of reassure them that all is not lost. Okay, so this is very much a case of use it or lose it, right? That's how fitness works. You know the old adage of body in motion stays in motion. And we know that doing so is good for us, right? It gives us better heart health, gives us better mobility, makes us stronger. Everything we want to be a good, productive human and possibly a good athlete, or hopefully a good athlete. But all that stuff, being active, perhaps specifically training, that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time and effort. Now, we're not talking about rest days. Rest days are hugely important. You know this. They're important because they help us physically and mentally recharge. They help us push forward. So that's not what we're talking about. I still want you to take those rest days, let your body recover from the work you're putting in. But if you're not putting in that work and you're doing nothing but resting, yeah, you're probably going to see some declines in fitness, strength, mobility, all of the things. And I can really empathize with people that do kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak, and they don't run for a long time or they don't work out, because it's very daunting to think about jumping right back in and doing what you used to do. There are times in the year, now I generally train all year long, but this is just for life fitness, not specifically training for any event. But there are times in a year when I won't do as much speed training. Maybe I'll just go out for a couple of weeks and just plod along without doing any higher efforts. And then I find when I do get back into doing those intervals or tempo runs, they are remarkably more difficult than I remember. I don't actually think that's true, but they feel more difficult. Like I'm still running at the same effort, I'm just not running as fast at that same effort. Anyway, according to Dr. Stone, he's quoted in the article, your body adapts to the stimulus you provide. No surprises there. Your muscles, they get used to the stress, the testosterone, the adrenaline, the endorphins, all those things that circulate in your body when we're exercising, when we're running, when we're in the gym, when we're insert your exercise here. And when you stop doing that, when you stop doing your activity, when you stop running, you start to lose muscle. And a loss of muscle is just no fun at all. But that muscle loss, that isn't the first thing that happens. So when we exercise, aside from getting fitter, stronger, faster, we're actually helping our bodies deliver oxygen and nutrients to tissues in a more efficient way. And that efficiency that we've honed by running, by working out, by doing cardio-based activities starts to become less efficient. So the first thing that you're going to see when you take a prolonged break is a decline in cardiovascular fitness. And after just a few days of inactivity, the volume of blood plasma that's circulating in your body decreases. And studies show that after 12 days of inactivity, the actual volume of blood that is pumping around your body decreases. So not just the plasma, the entire blood decreases in your body. Now I'm wondering, is that a legit way to lose weight? Probably not. Anyway, when our blood decreases, so does the amount of oxygenated blood that gets delivered to muscles and cells. And that's measured in your VO2 max. So your VO2 max is going to decline if you take a prolonged break. At this point, we're talking about 12 days. All this starts very quickly. But if you were to return at that point after 12 days, you're probably not going to notice too much of a difference. I mean, maybe a slight difference, as in things may feel slightly harder, your breathing may be a little heavier, but it's nothing that you won't be able to overcome. But it's when we get to the 3-week mark, and the 3-week mark is where scientists have found that the biggest changes start to occur. And the biggest changes are people's ability to actually get through a workout. Like it becomes remarkably more difficult. And that's because the energy produced by mitochondria for muscle cells decreases substantially. And because of that, exercise is going to be even more fatiguing. And you're probably wondering, well, Matt, I run all the time, I work out all the time. It's still pretty fatiguing. Well, imagine that, but more so, and going slower and lifting less. Now, the good thing is that strength declines slower than cardiovascular fitness. And it takes about 8 weeks of inactivity for you to notice a drop in the strength and size of your muscles. And you'll notice that decline in the decrease in the amount of reps that you can do and the max that you can lift. Oh, and you're also more likely to experience muscle soreness after you've come back from a prolonged break. Again, no surprises there. But look, all is not lost. In fact, you could be one of these unicorns that don't experience as much of a fitness loss as someone else. The rate of decline actually depends on age, genetics, lifestyle, prior level of fitness. But I'm also sorry to say, and I'm only sorry to say it because I fall into this category, that older adults lose fitness at nearly twice the rates of adults in their 20s and 30s. You know what? I I resent being called an older adult in my 40s. As long as there are athletes older than me, I am not an older adult. Look, I know I'm not a young adult, but isn't there like that middle ground? Do I still fall into it, or have I passed it? Forget it. That's probably a topic for another video on another channel. Anyway, regardless, older adults lose fitness quicker than young adults. Now, the good thing is that if you are a regular runner, if you work out on a regular basis, if you go to the gym, you lift a lot, you are still going to lose fitness, you're still going to lose strength at the same rate as someone that doesn't do what you do. But because you're starting at a higher level, you're not going to drop as much before you're able to pull yourself together and get back on the wagon. Okay, so what can you do to actually stop yourself from losing fitness, from losing strength because of a prolonged break? And the article points out that the good news is that most people don't take a prolonged break. Now, those findings, they're based on studies, and those studies are very controlled. So the researchers take athletes and they make them cut out all exercise, and they're not allowed to do anything. But it's likely that if you are taking a break from working out, from running, from doing your exercise, it's likely that you're not just sitting on the sofa all day. Like, you are still doing something. So that is going to slow your rate of fitness loss. That makes sense? Of course that makes sense. So if you have to stay in the house because of bad weather, if you're doing a lot of traveling, or let's say there's some family emergency or a family event that requires a lot of attention, look, you're still going to be doing some kind of fitness activity, even if it's not the one that you would prefer to do. And anything is better than nothing. So instead of like not going out for a run because you know that you only feel good if you run for an hour, you can take little exercise snacks. Just do a couple of those a day. Like a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there makes a huge difference and will stop that drop in fitness that comes from doing nothing. And the article does point out that if you spend just a few minutes a day doing interval training, that's actually sufficient to keep that blood volume high and your mitochondria relatively high. And look, I'm just realizing now that that doesn't actually solve anything, because if you have stopped working out, if you stopped going to the gym, it's likely a motivational issue and not like a mechanical issue of your life, something else preventing you from working out. It's probably just motivational, because it's difficult to keep running and keep working out. So for me, telling you just do a couple of minutes of interval training, it's very unlikely you're going to do that, because you're just not motivated to do it. If you were motivated to do a couple minutes of high intensity training in your house, you could probably find the motivation to go to the gym for a few minutes. So now that I've realized that, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it's over. But I'm not going to leave you on just a downer. We have to remember that overall fitness is more than just the sum of cardio fitness and strength fitness. If you're finding yourself with a lack of motivation, or you've been off for a little while from your sport of choice, maybe switch that sport of choice. Just do something. And I think something could be as little as just going for a walk in your neighborhood. Start there and see how your motivation goes. And if you do struggle with motivation, feel free to reach out to me, either in the comments here, on Instagram, on Strava, and I'll give you a swift kick in the butt, of motivation to help you all on your way. Okay, so let's just say for a second that you can't be bothered to do anything. You are not working out. You've been off for, let's say, a couple of months, and you don't want to do little things here and there. All you want to do is like get back to it, but you're not ready. But when you are ready, you're wondering, how long is it going to take me to get back into shape? Well, the good news is that everybody has off seasons, right? Every sport has an off season, and it's usually only the recreational runners that will run all year round. Professional runners, they definitely have an off season. So why don't you just reframe your little break as you being a professional athlete, and you're just in your off season. And when it comes to an end, you just slowly ramp back up, and eventually you'll get to your previous level of fitness. And the good thing is that if you have previously been fit, so if you are taking a hiatus from your exercise routine, from your running, from your strength work, it's easier for regular exercisers to get back into it. And research backs this up. It's a lot easier for people that have exercised to exercise than people that have been sedentary their whole life to start exercising. So you've got that going for you. And get this, while your muscle fibers can shrink after a period of inactivity, they don't disappear completely. In fact, your muscles actually remember what it's like to be big and strong. So they're already set up to regain the strength that you had before. And Dr. Coyle, the doctor that is quoted several times in the article, he says that you can gain approximately 1/2 of your fitness in 10 to 14 days with moderately hard exercise. It's not very long. That's 2 weeks to get back half of what you've lost. That's pretty good news. And then after that initial period of retraining to get yourself, back on the wagon, it starts to differ on the individual basis. But there was research that showed that older adults tend to take about 8 weeks to get back to their pre-break fitness levels after taking a 12-week break. And I don't want this next part to worry you too much, but there is evidence that shows that competitive athletes may need to train 2 or 3 times longer than the amount of time that they took off to regain the fitness. But you know what? That doesn't fit with anything that I want to believe. Maybe we'll just ignore that last part. Anyway, now I want to hear from you. What is the longest that you have taken off from running, working out, doing any kind of activity? Drop a comment and let me know. But for now, it's Matt D, and this has been a video on how long it takes to get fit again. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.